Here. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm so glad to have you all on. So we're going to wait a few minutes while everybody logs on. And we are also going to ask you to go ahead and share our time together, as well as start a couple of parties. So while everybody's logging on, I am going to log on myself, and we'll get started in just a few seconds. So let's give everybody a chance to get on. Hope y'all have had a great day. This is my second Facebook Live for today. So I'm getting around. Come on in and log on.
Danielle sending me? Welcome in.
She will be sending you something in just a few minutes. As a matter of fact, I can send it to you right now.
Sounds great.
And you should have gotten, I've just sent you something.
Okay.
Did you get it yet?
Yes, and just add to timeline?
You can share it to your page, yes. Just give it a few more seconds. It's just 7:02, so we'll give it a few more minutes while the people log on. So we have 3 people on already. So we'll go ahead and, yep, Mr. Moton, I see you. And we'll go ahead and get started. Well, let's give people a few more minutes. You know, let's give them a few more minutes. Just hold on, just a few. Just give them by one more minute. It's 7:03 now. We're still early. So if you would, make sure that you like and you share it with people. I think we're going to have a great conversation. Hey, Letitia, how are you tonight? Thank you so much for logging on. I think it's going to be a great conversation tonight. We have a great guest who can speak from experience as well as from an educational perspective. So I'm excited about him being on tonight. But we're going to get started in just a couple of seconds. Let's just give it one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for sharing it, and thank you for starting the watch parties and all of that stuff, getting the word out. I think this conversation, and I say it every week, I know I do, but every week I just feel like we have such great, valuable information, and I am excited to share. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get started. I am so excited tonight to have my brother from another mother, Mr. Earl Moton. I love this guy. I love him. I love him. I love him. Every time I call on him, he never fails. He never disappoints me. He is minister over at Berean Church over in Stone Mountain with Pastor Kerwin Lee.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of the armor bearers. He's a teacher. He's a financier. He has his own company that deals with financial planning and retirement planning, anything related to finances, he is your guy. He's who I go to whenever I have to do anything related to finances. He's the guy that I go to. He is just a nice guy. He knows about ministry. He knows about family. He has 3 kids and a wife that he adores. He's so funny. He carries their pictures around with him in his wallet, in his coat pocket when he goes to see clients. So if there anything ever jumps off, he can just pull that picture out and say, see, no, we ain't doing that. I love him. He is also a past pro football player. I don't know that much about football, but he did something. I don't know. He can tell you about that. He is a great teacher of the Word of God. He's even been to Fresh Start a couple of times and has done a couple of things on finances with the ladies. So he's just a all-around great guy, just a guy full of information. And it's my absolute honor to have him on tonight. Hello there, Mr. Moton. How are you doing?
How you doing, my sister? I'm doing wonderful, Glad to be here.
I am so honored that you said yes to me. And you are on tonight, even in during a very difficult time in our country and a very difficult time in our community. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your wisdom, to share your knowledge about what's going on and where things are, and just give some ideas of how to cope with all of this. But first of all, tell us how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Been staying safe, staying indoors mostly. Just opened my office back up last week, but been taking one client at a time. So everything's been going well.
Good. So before we get started with when you said that, tell us a little bit about what you do in your office.
Okay. I'm a financial planner. I've been a financial planner for 30 years. Started my business in 1991. My business is 29 years old. Wow. And basically we'll do full-fledged financial planning from top to bottom. About 15 years ago, I began to transition more into a retirement planning platform as opposed to just financial planning. So I would say probably over the last about between 12 to 15 years, majority of my clients are retirees.
Wow. Well, hopefully I'll be one of those clients one day. So, but I am so, right now I am cool with my job and everything is going good. Tell me a little bit about what are you telling your children about this time? I know your children are all grown, but they still come to mom and dad. They still talk to mom and dad. What are you saying to them? I know one of your sons is in Minnesota.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what are you saying to him about this time as it relates to both the COVID pandemic and as it relates to the racial tension that's going on?
Well, it's funny you say they're grown. They're older. They're young adults, not just adults. So he's 22. We have a 25-year-old, 22-year-old, and a 19, soon to be 20-year-old, our daughter.
Wow.
And what I've been talking to my oldest son about, he's 25 and he's working and transitioning, going back to school. It's just really just staying focused and not being more concerned about the outside noise. Keep doing what you're doing. Say your prayers, continue to, do what's right because it's the right thing to do. And he's pretty focused anyway. My 22-year-old, it's a little more difficult with him simply because he's away. He's in Minnesota. And what just happened.
Correct.
Was in Minnesota. It was actually about 15 minutes away from where his school is.
Wow.
Where he's actually staying. So it was a little bit more challenging for me. We had to, talk and pray on a, regular basis and just really tell him the same things, the values that we've given him to adhere to those and just really be more aware of his surroundings. And our daughter, she's here and the princess. And she's so she's just been right here at home. So she won't go back to school until July, but just pretty much the same things. Just say your prayers, stay focused, and be aware of your surroundings.
So what do you tell them? What do you tell them to do or to say if they're stopped by the police?
Well, my boys, one of the things I make sure in their glove compartment is their insurance card. And I said, if you ever get pulled over, first I tell them, obey traffic laws. If you see the light turning yellow, turning red, stop. Don't try to beat it, because that could result in you getting stopped by the police. Not that anyone's perfect, but you try to use caution.
Right.
Same thing with a stop sign. Make sure you get a full stop, because you don't want to be pulled over driving while black. So you want to, make sure that if you are pulled over, just take out your license before the officer gets there, and they make sure that they maintain their insurance card on top of all the stuff that's in their glove compartment, so they can have both of those in their hands if they ever stopped. And same with my daughter. So just making sure that they have all their, documentation, and also make sure they maintain politeness and maintain, and just ask the questions. What do you stop for? And then once they explain to them, just to go ahead and just comply, basically. Don't be rebellious. Even if you know you weren't speeding, that's not a time to fight.
Right.
So,
wow.
Just kind of make sure that, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just want to make sure they get home safely.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Now, have you noticed any emotional difference with your one that's away because of what's happened?
Well, it's interesting, because he's an athlete and he's used to dealing with all kinds of situations, adversities and things like that. Yes and no, because the school he goes to is believe it or not, is 90% white. It's a private university in Minnesota, but the area is in St. Paul, which is a mixture, which is probably 40% black. But I have seen he's more aware of it now, racism and just understanding the dichotomy, because he's an athlete, people treat him differently than if he was just a young black kid. He's in school, people treat him differently because he's in college, as opposed to just young black kid on the streets. So he's now understanding that his treatment is the way it is because of what he's involved in right now. But any given day it could change, and any given moment it could change if he just gets in his car and goes to McDonald's. Correct. He's just a young kid driving on the street. So he's more aware of and more conscious of the environment now, as far as racism, than he was before. Has he
even talked to you about experiencing some racism or something while he's been in Minnesota?
Yeah, not necessarily from a police perspective, or even people just in general in the community mistreating him. He did get some racism treatment as far as playing. He's a black guy playing quarterback, and he was the best guy for the job, but they kept putting white quarterbacks in front of him, which was challenging. It was hard for him to grasp that concept, because he's always been taught, if you're the best, you play.
Right.
But they would always make excuses, and he had to deal with that challenge, and that was a learning experience, especially this year as a senior.
Wow. And that has to be so tough. That pulls on the heart of the parent, knowing that your child is being mistreated for no other reason than the color of his skin. Just the color. That absolutely blows my mind, that people treat you differently just because of the color of your skin. Oh, wow. Great conversation. I want to say good evening to some of our followers. Crystal, hello. How are you doing? Hey, Anita, thank you for joining tonight. Hey, Latricia, thank you for joining. Christina, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so happy to have you all. So has your daughter experienced anything since she's been away in school?
No. She's I guess gets along with everyone. She has a very bubbly personality.
I'm sure you would say that.
Yes. But she's done well. She was one of the ones that it's a program where they show the kids around school and all that. She did that as a freshman, and then as a sophomore this past year, she was a manager, and she actually assigned those who were showing them around. And this year as a junior, she's going to be an RA.
Oh,
So,
oh,
so she's just, it's been a blessing and she's just moving on up the ranks, acting like her dad.
oh, okay.
I'm just teasing.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah,
Wow,
no,
wow, wow, wow. So how has your business been as it relates since COVID is going on, and then the also the thing with racial tensions? How have you navigated your business through all of this time?
well, the first month, it was challenging because I had to reschedule all the appointments because we just didn't know, I didn't want to meet with people. People didn't want to meet with me, and people were just really staying in their homes. And again, like I shared before, my business practice has gone more toward retirement planning. So my clients are older and we wanted to make sure that they were safe. And we had to learn how to do what we're doing now, meet over the phone or meet by way of computer. And it was a little slow transition early on the first 30 days. The second 30 days, it was a lot better. And I just opened my office back up last week, and I've been swamped, which has been a blessing. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am sure. So have you seen or have you dealt with in your dealings of working with people any racism or any of that because of the color of your skin? They didn't want your product that you had to offer. How did you handle it?
Absolutely. I've been doing it 30 years. And it's interesting because it's really only about 2% African American nationally right now as financial planners that own marketing companies. And when I go to major events each year, because you qualify for the amount of business that you do, that companies send you on different trips and they have big conferences and they invite you out. You have to qualify to come to get the new information and what's going on, updates and changes with tax laws and things like that. And it's probably usually around 600 people they invite all over the country. And we meet in Vegas. And it's probably about, on the average, since I've been going over the last 20 years, it's been between 6 and 10 Black firms represented. So you're
6
talking
and
about
10? Wait, 6 and 10, how many firms are there?
600. So you're talking about 1%, maybe it may get up to 2% in those meetings. So I'm pretty used to it now. Early on, it was a lot of racism with sly remarks and stuff like when we would go out to dinner and they would ask, older gentlemen, Caucasian would ask, how'd you get here? I said, well, I took the elevator down and walked into the ballroom just like you did. But, they were basically asking, how did I get in? Because in this industry, it's interesting because most of it is generational. The granddad will pass it to the dad and the dad will pass it on to their son. And hopefully I'll be able to do that with my son, the one that's in Minnesota, because he says he wants to get into financial services in that area as well. So hopefully I'll be able to do the same thing. But it was a lot of racism early on. As a matter of fact, 99% of my client base is Black.
Wow. So when you were in the professional football league, I don't know what you call it, because you were overseas, I think. Did you experience the racism over there as well?
Well, I played in the World Football League, and the league, we had 8 teams here and 4 overseas, and we traveled over, but I was actually here in the States.
Okay.
But, it's interesting, abroad, it wasn't as bad as it is here. Even when we travel, no matter where, I've been to London, Jerusalem, Fiji, Australia, all over, and they treat Black people better there than they do here in most cases.
Wow.
And it's understandable because there's not a system of racism built like it is in the United States, Jim Crow, slavery, and things of that nature, but they still have biases, but it's not as blatant as it is here. That I've experienced.
Wow. So what do you think there's a question. Since Father's Day is coming up, does it feel or seem different based on the current climate? Do you see it as different for you?
How so? You mean with all that's going on in Father's Day coming around? Well, Father's Day, you don't get to go out and do all the good stuff that Mother's Day get, but you just walk up to any restaurant and get the best things. You just have to go at the time you choose. But It's interesting because you can't do, I guess, birthdays and Father's Day and different Mother's Day for that fact. Just different holidays in general, you can't gather like you would normally do. So you just have to just kind of be thankful for your family and your friends and just enjoy it in a smaller gathering.
How would you tell a father to prepare for his children during this time financially?
I would tell them to save your money, because right now a lot of people are not driving back and forth to work, not having to pay for a cleaning bill, not having to get their hair, nails, and things like that done. And that money that would normally be spent out to lunch, snacks, and things of that nature, this will be a great time if you're working to save that money and begin to put it in places like more into your retirement plan or an emergency fund, something like that, that would really benefit you down the road. Because in this COVID season, you find that people are pretty much in three places. They're either in a same position, they still kept their job, and they still get the same pay. So they're in a position to save that extra money. Some people, they kept their job, but they got reduced pay by reduced hours, or they were off a period of time. So they are basically trying to maintain. And then you have those who lost their job and no longer have a job, and they're trying to play catch up. Yeah. So it depends on the situation that they're in, and hopefully that everyone can come out this by maintaining what they had, if not better.
So how would you tell a Black father, or what would you suggest to a Black father to say to his young children about what's going on now?
Well, as a man of God, one of the things I would encourage all men is to teach their kids to pray and to trust God. I'm not trying to spiritualize it, but that is the foundation of who we are as a people. Then I would just begin to tell them their self-worth. You are somebody. You hear a lot of outside noise, but know that you are someone. Always, as I was raised, to prepare yourself to be twice as good as your competitor, whether they look like you or don't look like you. Always prepare yourself, set goals, begin to understand that when you go out into this world, it's not necessarily going to be like it is in your house, where people are protecting you, supporting you, encouraging you, motivating you. There are people that's going to try to stop you. So you have to maintain a focus, a work ethic, discipline, and just really have a resilience about yourself, because things are not always going to go your way. Right. As a father, that's what I instill in my kids. Always have a strong work ethic, always stay focused, have goals, and work toward those goals. And people will see most times your character, because your character speaks before you, most times before you speak.
Another question that we have is, a lot of attention has been given or focusing on Black businesses. How can a father leverage this time to start a business or some type of financial legacy for his son or his daughter?
Well, that's twofold. One of the things that I think we can do as Black fathers is not focus more so on what we're wearing, but leaving a legacy. Because right now we're spending so much money on today that there's not money for tomorrow. So, it's not important that your kids have Jordans and name brand clothes and things of that nature, but they have money set aside for their college education. Even if they get a scholarship, then you can help catapult them into a job opportunity or a business opportunity. Allow them to stay off work and get a advanced degree by being able to just stay at home and not having to rush right into work. That's one of the things they can do, is just modify the spending on things that you need more so than things that you just want. And you can do that by leading by example. A lot of times kids watch you and do what you do. If every time you go into the mall, they want to go to the mall and get something too. But if every time you get paid, you're showing them, hey, I'm putting money aside, then that's what they're going to do. Even if you're providing an allowance to them. If they're getting $100 a month, $25 a week, they need to be saving a portion of that money and not spending it all just because they get it. The other thing is, when you're looking at starting a business, starting any type of business at any given time is risky. So this is even more risky because we don't know how many people can actually support the business that you're trying to do. Most businesses fail within the first year simply because they don't have the experience, not because they don't have the expertise of, like, say, for example, barbecue. People can cook, but they don't know how to do business.
Wow.
And you have to generate, do research and make sure that you have enough resources and finances in place, though as though there were nobody coming in and you could sustain 6 months as though we were busy for 6 months. So you have to really do a lot of research. And for the most part, Sonya, we're the first generation of wealth. You know, most people didn't have the opportunity or resources to be able to start a business. But now we do have it, but we just have to make sure that once we start it, that we in the community support it.
Yes, yes.
Because you can start a business and it'd be phenomenal, but if we don't come support it, it's going to fail. Not because it's not a good business, it's because it's not getting the support that it needs to sustain itself. So we got to start running to other communities and spending money in their community, and they're not running to our community, spending money in our community. There's a study done that the dollar in the Black community lasts 24 hours. The dollar in the white community lasts 2 years.
Wow.
Before
that
recycle.
speaks volumes. That speaks volumes.
Yes.
I have recently made a commitment to check out my own community when I need a product before I go to another community. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. I want to see if it's here first. And if it's of quality here, I want to get it here before I go somewhere else.
And that's a great practice. But you know what? We all need to do that because I'm a Black business. And it's funny because I shared with you earlier, I have 99% of my clients look like me. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm right in the top 2% in the country, but we've been ingrained and trained that white is right. And it's unfortunate because they're the ones that normally when it comes to people with money, athletes, entertainers, once they get their hands on that money, it becomes theirs instead of the person who actually made it or earned it. So it's interesting. We have to do better with supporting our own businesses. And if we do that, I think we'll be a lot better off.
And we don't need to support by saying, can you give me a break? Can you give me a discount? We don't go to most Macy's and ask for a discount. Right.
And that's the biggest mistake we make too, is that when we do have a business, we want the hookup. It's called a hookup.
Yes.
And that person would not ask anyone else, any other culture for the hookup. They only ask each other, and not understanding that we need each other. When they go to all the seafood restaurants, all the fast food restaurants in this area are owned by Asians, Indians, and others. And
let's not forget the hair products. Those hair products
as well. And we go right in there and we pay whatever's the price that they say it is. Never do you say, well, they say your price is $10.99. Well, brother, can I get this for $8.99? Or can I get this? All I got is $6. Or they'll say, well, yeah, you can get it for $6. You'll get half the product. That's basically. So we have to begin to treat each other with respect financially.
Right. That's good. That is good information right there. So I have another question. It says, what should adult children know about their fathers and their mindsets during this time?
Well, you know, and it's Black fathers get a bad rap a lot.
Yeah. And
some of that is warranted because you have a lot of babies, daddies that are not being fathers. But the fathers that are real, that are there, that are supportive of their families, that it's challenging for us because we have a concern more so now than ever before. When our kids go out, you know what I mean? That we can make sure that we can maintain and be able to not only support the existing family, but our neighbors and our brothers and our extended families as well. Because there are people that we know and we're connected to that may lose their job. And if we're in position, we can help them out and support them and hold our brothers' arms up. But if we're struggling, then most times we can't help and support them. But I would always say this, always pray for those that are in leadership. And a Black man in a household is in leadership and needs prayer.
Yeah, amen. 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 The one of the listeners says in a video of Rashad Brooks, he talked about getting home to his kids and his family. And then in George Floyd, there was highlights of him being a great father. How has these moments impacted you, or how do they impact you?
Well, the reality of it is, when I saw these incidents, it reminded me, it doesn't matter. You could be a great father, a great husband, a great human being, but if racism exists in that person's heart, they don't care and they could kill you. And it's sad, but that's in the world we live today. It's very challenging to look at that, because they're quick to say, well, they arrested them, they had to be doing something. Yeah, they were Black for the most part. And, you know, and how many times has a Black man been harassed, or a Black person been harassed by the police just for being Black? Didn't have to do anything. There's countless times we've seen on the internet over the past few years. They stopped a senator down in Florida because she was driving a Mercedes Benz, and then they had to apologize. They stop them all the time. They stop people who are driving nice cars or live in nice homes because they don't expect us to be successful. And it's challenging because as a Black man, it's almost like we're hunted in some points. So we have to maintain our dignity and maintain a level of respect, not only from them, but for each other. We got to respect each other as well.
Yes. What would you say is one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn as a father?
That I'm not perfect and my kids are not perfect. It goes both ways, because it's funny, Sonya, because a lot of times we expect our kids to be perfect, but you know, we expect them to do the right things all the time. And I recall a conversation I had with my youngest son. He's now 22, and he was 18 years old. And I was telling him, man, when I was your age, I was doing this and I was doing that and I was doing this and I was doing that. And I said, man, you need to get it together. So he walked into his room, and I went downstairs, and I started thinking. And the Lord dealt with me. He said, no, you didn't. Some of that stuff you did, but you made 18-year-old decisions just like he's doing. And I said, you're right. And I actually went up and apologized to him. I said, son, you know, I realize you're 18. And the decisions that you're making are coming from an 18-year-old brain. And I'm looking at it many years older than you are. And I would do it differently because I know better. My experiences, my education, my environments, my exposure, all those things have molded me to make wiser decisions as opposed to the decisions I would have made at 18. And guess what? Just a few years later, we're having the same conversation. He said, Dad, you were right. He said, all that stuff I was doing, he said, just didn't make sense. He said, but I just didn't know any better.
Wow.
And yeah, so we both learned the lesson that neither one of us are perfect, and that we can learn from each other and grow from each other.
What would you say has been the very best thing about being a father?
Oh, watching them grow up. You know, it's so funny because, like, my oldest son is 25. I can remember seeing him born, holding him, teaching him how to walk, teaching him how to ride a bike, teaching him how to do all those things. And looking at him now, when you give him advice and they look at you like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know more than you. I was like, I taught you everything you know. What are you doing? But that's the biggest joy, is seeing the growth and the successes in their lives. But also on the other side, one of the hardest things is seeing them go through challenges. And it's nothing like, it's something for you to go through a challenge, but to see your child go through it, it is 100 times worse, because you have to watch it and you would rather take it off of them and you go through it as opposed to watching them go through it. But we all know that it allows them to get stronger. Caterpillar never butterfly without going through the struggle.
That you better preach out. That is the truth. I mean, that's how they get the colors on their wings and all of that's because they are pressing against that. Yes. And you know what? That's how we grow. That's how we mature. That's how we learn. I mean, everything, and I would like to say, let me tell you everything so that you don't have to go through that. But there's going to be some stuff that they're just going to have to go through. They're just not gonna listen. They don't, as my grandmama would say, they don't believe fat beat greasy.
But you know, just think about it. They have to learn. How do you learn how to walk? You walk and you fall down. You walk and you fall down. You can't pick them up and carry them all their life, because when they get about 10 or 12, you're too heavy.
Yes.
So they have to learn. They grow by their falling down, and not by just the falling down, but by the getting back up.
So if you could change one thing about being a father, or one perception, what would that be?
A perception about being a father, that it's easy. It's easy making a baby, but it's hard taking care of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm not making light of it. What I mean by that is that everyone says, I want a child, but we've been blessed that all our children are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have friends that children had challenges, physical challenges, had mental challenges. You know, so it's not easy. I mean, it's even if your kid is healthy, doesn't mean it's going to be easy. The biggest thing that I would say is that being a father doesn't come with instructions.
Yes.
Every situation is different. There's no cookie cutter way to say, this is how you become a dad, or this is how it is how you become a dad, but how to be a father is totally different. Everybody knows how to become a dad, but it's the father part. You so silly.
Yeah. So if you could tell mothers or females one thing to best support fathers, what would that be?
Encouragement.
To best support Black fathers.
Encouragement. I mean, because just like stereotypes from other cultures are about us, we have stereotypes about us as well. You know, Black men do face racism. Black men do face challenges and stuff that other cultures don't. And just continue to support them and motivate them and love them and pray for them and encourage them and say, listen, you know, yeah, you didn't bring home the bacon like I thought you would. But at least, you know, you didn't bring home 2 packs, you brought home a pack. But you did bring home something, you know what I'm saying? Maybe brought home a few strips. Well, we got to cut it up and we got to eat what we got. But, you know, just continue to encourage them, because life is going to beat them down. When they walk outside of those doors, it's a whole different ball game. When they come out of the safety zone, which is what I call the house is your safety zone, when they get out, they become in harm's way. It's hazardous conditions at all times. They have to put on a hard hat. We have to put on a hard hat and prepare for things falling, things happening. It's a construction zone everywhere we go. Driving, when we get to work, just everywhere we go, there's constant things coming at us, being a Black male. And on top of that, the responsibility of being a father in addition to that. Now, Black women, hats off to you, because just for whatever reason, I guess God wired us differently. You guys are just wired to do it better, to handle it better than we have. And we're learning. I'm not, you know, it's just a fact. We're learning. How many Black women are single mothers and just raising multiple kids and make it happen? Where Black fathers, I don't know many. My brother was a single dad for years, but I don't know many brothers who could do what most single women could do. As far as I'm not saying that we can't. It's just that the reality of it is we just haven't been. It's more challenging for us to do it that way.
But I also,
we need y'all and y'all need us.
Absolutely, without question.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Rice and gravy. I also think that there are so many things that are coming against our African-American males, even in school. You know, it starts early. I was looking at a study that I think I was reading a book or something, and it was talking about, I was reading this book called Postpartum Slave Syndrome, where and it talks about some of the stuff that we're dealing with now. It's been passed down to us. But this particular study was talking about a group of preschool teachers, and they were looking at a group of kids, and they were labeling the kids based on what they thought would happen and who they thought would be the troublemakers. And of course, the number one people that they thought would be the troublemakers were in fact the Black males. But in fact, in this particular instance, the troublemakers were the white males. So we are starting out already with a disadvantage at the very beginning. That's why I say that it's so important for us to be hands-on when it comes to our kids being in school. No matter what school, no matter what age, I don't care. You need to be hands-on so that to make sure that your kids are getting the proper treatment and not getting labeled, and question what's going on. Question why did you put little Johnny in the corner and you didn't put Peggy Sue in the corner? You know, right. You need to question. And I think one of the things that I see is when I see the Black men coming into the school, or when I see a Black figure coming in and they're asking questions, all of a sudden things change. Things change. You all are so vital to us. You are so vital to kids. You're so vital to the family. You're so vital to our community. One of the things that I think is one of the issues with racism, I think why there is, because when they see a Black man coming, they're intimidated.
Sure, absolutely. I agree. I totally agree. And that's when they say you see two Black people, it's a group, and you see three, it's a gang of Black men. And it's interesting. I want to go back to your point of elementary school and preschool. They've done studies that the biggest reason why the ADD medicine and the ADHD medicine was so popular was that white women were so intimidated by the little Black boys. They kept saying they had behavioral disorders and they were uncontrollable. They wouldn't sit down. But at the same token, they was doing away with recess and they made it less and less and less. I don't know any kid that's 5, 6, 7, 8 that can sit in a class 8 hours. I don't know any adult that can sit there for 8 hours and not get some type of release, you know. So they begin to do that and label these kids. And then they saw the money in it. And then they begin to go into our communities and say, if your kid is on ADD, you get food stamps. If you're on ADHD, you get these benefits. They get all these things. So it really put a lot of our kids, introduce our kids to drugs. Mm-hmm. And then they wonder why a lot of kids do use marijuana and all that. That's a whole different story. I don't want to get off into that. Mm-hmm, but again, it was the labeling. Everybody, they didn't know how to discipline. And you had so many white elementary school teachers in the inner cities, and they were labeling our kids, and then they weren't teaching our kids. So we had a lot of challenges that we're still overcoming because of that whole culture of young Black boys who were labeled and weren't taught properly and not given the right opportunities. And they're still suffering today. That's why the prison system is so high and the testing scores are so low. Because you early on, and now I'm not blaming it totally on them, but they're a major part of it, simply because we taught our kids to read at home. You know, we're the first teachers. They support what we do. Mm-hmm. You know, we teach them how to read, we teach them how to write, we teach them how to spell. That's our responsibility. But at the same token, we're hoping that the teachers are given the same support and the same instructions that we're giving from the house. Right. So it's very challenging when you got a group of people or a culture of people who don't care about your kids.
Absolutely. That's why I just advocate for, if parents can go to those meetings, if parents can get on the phone with those teachers, don't just accept everything that they say without any question. It's just not healthy for your kids. And then sometimes when we get into those ruts and those kids can't progress, they can't move forward, that stuff becomes generational. You know, daddy didn't do anything. Sure. Then he has a couple of kids, they don't do anything. It becomes generational. You know, he doesn't feel like he has the goods to be anybody. He has the know-how to do anything. And in fact, he does. Right, but he's been beat down so much till he says, man, just screw it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just go to the corner.
Right. And it's even more challenging when you get beat up outside and then you go home, get beat up on the inside.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
then you wonder why the brother's leaving. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that, it's very challenging. To your other point in regards to when a black man shows up to school, makes a huge difference. You have somebody who cares. They've even showed, I have friends that are attorneys and judges, and they say this: when a black father shows up to court, it changes the way that the judges look at them. Oh, you have a family. You're not from a broken home, and things that influences their decision as well. So it's a lot of reasons why the black man is so important to our families, and that we need to be there. And if you know that there's a family that doesn't have a dad, try to support them best you can.
Yeah. How do you propose that the black man or the black father can balance his responsibility, because he has a lot of responsibility? How do you balance all of that?
Much prayer, much planning. Literally, in this day and age, we just don't have the luxury of winging it. In my situation, I'm a dad, full-time dad. I'm a husband. I'm a business owner. I'm a minister. And then I had to put time in for me. I exercise and work out. So there's your family, your fitness, your finances. It's a lot of things that you have to try to balance. And the best way to do that is you have to plan properly. You have to pray about it and get wisdom and get support from others. A lot of the way I've been successful, and I thank God for it, is that I've had mentors early on in my business life that showed me the way. And a lot of times we don't have people, like my dad wasn't in business and my mom wasn't in business, so they couldn't teach me that. And a lot of times that most men don't have that. There are two integral things that every man needs. They need a mentor and a model.
Come on.
You need a model is somebody you can see from a distance, and you can watch them and say, I want to be like them. You never talk to them, you never interact with them, but you see them and you see how they dress, how they talk, how they carry themselves, how they do things, and you say, man, I want to be like that person. They're modeling their life before you. Then you have a mentor. You see them and they say, come here, son, let me show you. And they take you under their wing and they teach you how to be like them. Very rarely do you get an opportunity to have your model and your mentor be the same person. But when you have that, that's a phenomenal thing. But we all need models and mentors, somebody we can look at and say, I want to be like them. And then we have others, we need somebody to teach us so we can be like them. So without
that is good right there.
So without it, we have a lot of people who are lost.
Yeah. That is good information. You need a model and you need a mentor. You need that. Hey, put that. You need to write that down. Yes.
But you know what, Sonya? In addition to that, guess where they get the information from if they don't have a model and a mentor? Their peers. And guess what the peers know? What they know. And that's the biggest challenge for young black men, and even for fathers. If they've never had a father in their life, and then they become a father, who is teaching them how to become a dad, how to become a father? And if they don't have a model to say, well, look, I saw my granddad do this, or why do you think women are so successful at it? They saw mama, big mama, they saw grandmama, they saw them cook, clean, take care of the kids, do all these things, and they have models and mentors to show them how to do it. Most just don't have that. So that's where the disconnect comes a lot of times in our community.
Wow, that is amazing. Your wife said yes. Hey, Janice, she said, you better teach that Earl M. Moton.
Oh, okay.
So how do you propose that the Black fathers can help change the narrative that's being with the labels that's being put on them?
Say that again.
How do you propose that the African American men can change the narrative that they've been being placed, that they've been labeled with?
Well, that's a twofold process. One is we all got to look at the man in the mirror. There are things we all have to clean up and do better.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to live with integrity and character. Not that we're going to be perfect, but if you know that you've been going to work late, go to work on time. If you know you've been taking off and not calling in, do better. You know, if you're not taking care of your family, do that. There are things that we need to do personally. And then on top of that, we've got to encourage other brothers to do the same. Yeah. And then we got to begin to, it starts first within us, and then our house, and then our community, and then out. We can't expect white folks to start treating us different if we ain't treating us better. And we can't expect them to treat us different if we ain't doing right. So it really starts with us, because that narrative can't change until they start. We now have their attention. Now is the time. Now they're looking at us differently than they've ever looked at us before. They said, well, wait a minute. You know what? I never did give Earl a shot. You know what I'm saying? A fair shot. I said, okay, come on, let's bring this in. I'll look at it and see if you get this account. But I never really put it up against someone else and says, let me compare apples to apples. So a lot of times we've never gotten the opportunity because they just overlooked us. Mm-hmm. It was, we were no good or wasn't good enough. Now we have everybody's attention. It's time to get ourselves together and move forward in a way that people respect us and give us the respect we deserve.
Wow. Wow, that's good, because that was going to be, so we're winding down, you all. We're at 7:51. I mean, where does the time go? It goes by so fast. If you have any questions, would you go ahead and put them in for Earl? He'll answer all of your questions. I have no answers for you, but Earl does. So go ahead. Go ahead and put those questions in. I think you have pretty much answered the question my last question that I was going to ask you about, where do we go from here? You know, the COVID, the racism. So where do you see us as a community going from here?
Well, we didn't talk much about the COVID-19 situation. There's so much information that we don't know, and there's so much misinformation that we do know. Mm-hmm. That is truly a prayerful situation, but I would lean to the side of the scientists. If they say, you know, wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, then I think we should do that. Try not to go into areas where there's large groups of people and stay there for long periods of time. It's no different. It's a virus or whatever it is. It's like a flu. If you're around a bunch of sick people, sooner or later you're going to become sick if they have the flu. So it's no different in that regard. I think that going forward, we need to not be selfish. Mm-hmm. Even if you feel like you're healthy and you're okay, and you might be asymptomatic, your system might be stronger than everybody you come in contact with in the next 12 months. But you might be in contact with someone who has it. It doesn't affect you, but because you don't wear a mask and don't wash your hands, you can infect other people. So you want to be just be more mindful of others in regards to the COVID-19, in regards to the economy. That's yet to be seen. Hopefully everybody, the economy can get back up to where people can get their jobs back, and hopefully no one loses anything like their homes, their cars, or their jobs, and that everybody can maintain and move forward effectively. So
your sister just logged on. Say hi to your sister. Is it
Hey, Sam?
Sam, hey, okay. Yeah, she's on.
Hey, shout out to my sister, Samara's Moton, Samara's Hair Salon in Arlington, Virginia. 34 years and going strong.
All right, then. I'm going to get mine done Monday.
Hey, listen, that's one of my models and my mentor, and she's a lady.
Come on.
In business. She's always been, that's my big sister.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Thank you so much for joining, Sam. We're glad to have you. Hope you'll come back next week. So how has this, I guess my final question for you, since we don't have any more questions, is how has your faith increased or decreased since all of this has been going on?
I do spend, I will say this, I spend more time talking to the Lord about a lot of things, because again, you know, your kids, your family, business, the economy, others, church. I'm very active in the church, and I've been praying that my pastor would listen to the voice of the Lord and not listen to people in regards to reopening the church, because they're saying that's the quickest way it can spread is through being in a closed environment, people speaking and yelling and spitting, and you know how we do, and praying and loving on each other and touching and all that good stuff, you know. So and so far so good. And my prayers, I've been praying for the leaders all across this country, because we need the leaders to step up, Black and non-Black, to come together and understand we need change. This is a time of change, and we can change, and we do it together. And we need each other, and we're stronger together than we are divided. So my faith has increased, and I think not only mine, I think so many other people, God is using this to bring people closer to Him. So, and I pray that we all pray for one another, and that we all get closer to Him, and we live more like Him.
Hey, now that's the key right there. Live like Him.
Yeah, just don't go to church.
And not make up some of this other
just
religion.
Don't go out, don't just stand in front of church and hold a Bible. Open it up and read it. And then once you read it, live it.
Amen. Come on, you are preaching tonight, sir.
Hey.
It's not 2 Corinthians. Come on, you are preaching.
And it's not his Bible, it's a Bible. Hey, man. I don't want to get in there. I don't want to talk about the resident at the White House. The resident.
The resident.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on tonight. Do you have any final thoughts before we log off? I can't believe we've been on almost an hour. You are the bomb. You
are the bomb. My sister, I thank you for even thinking about me to come on your show and to be able to share the things that I've learned and experienced in my life. And I wish you nothing but the best of success, and continue doing what you're doing. You're helping a lot of people. Well, I hope so. I hope that, more importantly, I hope God is pleased. And this is such a major time of transition in so many ways. We could talk about transition from now to doomsday, or whenever, because we are dealing with so many things, and it's almost like everything is happening all at once. And we need to know how to navigate. Even in the midst of celebrating Father's Day or Juneteenth, let's not forget that. That's tomorrow. We just learned about that. Nobody knew about that. We just found out about Juneteenth this week. Look at my shirt that was made for me. Love and Juice. Oh, that's nice. Uh-huh. Very nice. Who was made. You bought it, or somebody made it for you? Somebody local made it for me, and she is called who? LKB for Designs and Photography. There you go. So we go on the site, you can order, sir. Danielle will put that on, put that link on for you. Are you still there? She'll put the link on for you so that you all, if you want one ordered, she can order. I started to wear it tonight, but then I said, I want to wear it tomorrow. So I don't want people to see me in the shirt 2 times in 2 days. So, but she also does photography. She also does photography for me as well. So she's my photographer. So any of the professional pictures that you see on my page, she's done them. I also want to get a shout out to Danielle Butler. She created my webpage. She does the last book that I published. She was the publisher. She did, she did everything as it relates to the book except write it. But then she did add a little bit. So I give her a little credit. She added a little bit. She's gonna be doing my book too. See, she is an entrepreneur for real. She has her hands in a lot of things, and she and Jocelyn, I'm very proud of both of them. Jocelyn is doing her fruit and making a name for herself. So they're both doing very well. So I'm extremely proud of them. It says Janice Moton said, "Thank you so much, Mr. Earl, for the information, and thank you, Auntie, for the invite. You all are family, so y'all are more than welcome. But thank you again. I want to say blessings to you, sir. Blessings to your family. I pray safety on you all, on your children while they're away, and while the princess is doing her thing. Don't be surprised if she we ain't going there." I'm going to put the brakes on that. I'm going to. Well, listen, real quick. I pray your business continues to prosper and everything that you do, your books, everything that you're doing. I'm so proud of you. I've known you, my sister, for a while, and you're doing great things, and the best is yet to come.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And shout out to Danielle Perjanis. Janet, auntie, where is mine? I'll get you a shirt, Janice. I'll get you a shirt. There you go. All right, y'all. Y'all don't have any more questions. We're going to log off so Mr. Earl can go be with his family. Thank you again, my brother. You know I love you. You know I appreciate you. And hey, let's stay in touch and take care of yourself.
All right. Love you too. Thank you again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.